Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Chris.
And this time it's the movies of 1995. And at the top of the show, as always, I'd just like to give a really big shout out to our supporters, Andrew and Tristan. Thanks very much for the continuing support, mates. You're crazy people, but we really love you. So thank you from all of us for supporting us. And if anyone listening would like to do the same, then you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/thewolfiepod, where you will find 3 lovely tiers to choose from, starting from just £1. Guys, it's been a while. I think we've finally recovered from the Biffo episode. Do you think so?
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah, we've had to have a sit down. We've had to have a couple of weeks off. I had to remaster and drop a very old episode just so we could have that little break to recover from the immenseness of Biffo being on our show. But we're all ready to go for the movies of 1995.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. Before we do get into the movies of 1995, I need to ask a question. And I need to ask that question before it all goes, because that's what normally happens before I get to this question. And that is, what's in your glass, Rich?
It's still in my glass. It's not completely gone. It's
We made it.
12% left. But I've got a lovely sour from Vault City Brewing. It's a marshmallow smoothie sour with peach, apricot and cherry.
Excellent.
Very, very nice. 10.5%.
I thought that was going to be your rating then, 10.5. I was going to say, is it that good? It's got to go over the 10.
It's good. So, yeah, I'd give it a good 9.2.
Banging. Better than
nice.
better than the last one I think you had, because you couldn't rate that one for. I can't even remember what it was now. It's been so long.
Poor,
but
I forget what it was. It was poor. Yeah,
it was that poor you forgot and you don't want to ever see it again. But this one sounds a banger and I need to add it to my list. If one day I get round to a craft beer shop, I will know what to look out for. So beautiful. So let's move on, and I just want to touch upon a couple of things that have happened in the world recently that have got like a nice 90s reaction, 90s reference, should I say. And the first one is some movie trailers that have dropped recently. And the three I want to quickly talk about is the new Home Alone trailer, the trailer for the new Scream film that's coming out next year, and also the Lightyear trailer. I just want to just quickly say about the Home Alone trailer. It's like, why?
I haven't seen the trailer. I didn't even know it was happening.
Okay.
Was it Home Sweet Home Alone or something?
Oh, God.
Oh,
something
no.
like that. Yeah.
The trailer's something, because it's really odd. Like, kind of like how people poked fun at Ghostbusters Afterlife, having this real like reverence for something that's not really kind of all that reverent. In just the trailer alone, most of the dialogue is a reference to the original film, but really weird lines. There's a bit where I forget what the line is now. Kevin's mum in the airport, when she's just like, my son's home alone.
Yes.
Blah blah, something about I'm a mother. I need to be with my son, and like the mum in the trailer says that as if it's kind of this real like, do you remember that line?
Oh God!
And it's like really like meant to be this powerful moment. Like we're channeling it. Like it's like, okay, cool, that's nice. I guess I recognize the lines, but I don't know why you're doing this. You're making a really like effort.
So they're just packing it full of member berries.
Yeah,
it's like
it's a British family in America as well. Like the kid's British, so already I'm like, you can right off. It's like the kid from like Thunderpants or whatever it is playing Kevin McAllister. It's fucking weird.
It's just not right, is it? And even the burglars, when we see those, they're it's just not right, is it?
Wasn't one of them recognisable? Who was it now?
I have no idea.
Oh shit!
No idea. I think I was looking away. Like, no, what are they doing?
I swear one of them is someone that sticks out to me. Oh yeah, Buzz is in it as well, by the way. He plays a cop.
Yeah, you see the McAllister name badge on the police uniform, don't you?
You get it? It's McAllister.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
But hey, Yeah, but we're obviously looking at this with 90s rose tinted glasses at the original, and I'm sure it will do very well because my youngest is very excited for this film and he can't wait to sit down and watch it. So in that sense, Disney have probably succeeded, but for us, it was a bit of a mess, really.
Oh yeah, Rob Delaney is one of the burglars. That's a shame. I like Rob Delaney. But, oh well.
Yeah, so you're not seen the trailer for this one, Chris?
No.
Okay, well, that's your little homework, and then we can hear your thoughts on it next time. What about Scream? Did you see the Scream trailer?
No.
Oh, okay. Doing well on this segment, aren't we? Unlike the Home Alone trailer, the Scream one I thought looked really good. I think they'd... I don't know, the comparison between the two was just night and day for me. I was very much more excited for the Scream movie. And, I mean, I don't really know why. I mean, I don't think there's anything that much different in it. Have you seen this one, Rich, as well? You haven't,
I've still not watched the trailer for this. I kept meaning to when it first dropped. I mean, I won't pretend to necessarily be like massive into Scream. I watched like the first two. I think that was it.
I think that's all you really needed.
No,
I
I
didn't
didn't
need
either.
to see that, wasn't it?
One of those like diminishing returns kind of things. That just wasn't. I won't pretend I'm really. I like horror, but I'm not one of those horror diehards where I really follow all the big franchises and I'll watch them all and really take them in and get into the lore and.
Well, that's what I don't like slasher horror. It doesn't do anything for me.
Fair enough, yeah.
Getting with the supernatural kind of stuff, then yes, that's interesting. You can really sort of do something with it, but it reminds me of like The Conjuring. Like,
love a film.
It's just I still haven't watched the others, but I've sort of revisited it. I found it on Netflix, and I was like, it's not as bad as I thought it could be. given the controversy of the Warrens and their research and stuff like that, it could have been handled a lot worse. But I've never really watched Scream or slasher films, to be fair.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I was quite excited. And they've got all the old characters back for Scream. And it's a continuation of the stories that we saw in the original. So, that's quite good. But I think the last one I just want to touch upon is the Lightyear trailer.
Yeah, that was stunning.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Visually stunning. And I think the way they're handling it is also inspired. And yeah, it looks amazing.
How are we playing this in the Toy Story world? Is this just like the cartoon movie that's in the Toy Story world that the toy would be based on? Yeah,
I think I read on one of the Twitter threads, it's like it's taken place in Pixar's real world. But is it, I can't remember, is it the exploits of an actual real astronaut that the cartoon was based on, which the action figure is then based on that? So it's something like that. It's not like the straight up cartoon. Yeah. And it's something that I wish, and I'm waiting for Pixar to come out about Cars and say the same kind of thing. Because all the Pixar films happen in Pixar's real world. Every single one of them. But Cars is this jarring anomaly. They're like, well, what? Like, what are you doing with it? Is it just tell people that it's just a show within their world or something like that? Because it just physically doesn't make sense with the rest of Pixar stuff.
Yeah, I never really thought of it. I've never really thought that deep about Cars. So,
it's
quite interesting.
To be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like just doesn't make sense in the Pixar universe. Like, yes, fair enough, you got monsters, but each film's self-contained, but actually always takes place kind of in a real world.
Yeah.
So where's Cars with that? Is it
Cars is weird.
Is it someone playing with cars? Is it
Pixar multi-universe?
Yeah. But the way the Lightyear trailer just looks stunning. I can't wait to hear Chris Evans.
Yeah, because I think he's quite the right choice for this to pull off the voice from Tim Allen. I don't think they're going to get him back for the voice, are they?
Well, anyone taking work out of Tim Allen's hands is a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
I mean, I like it as well. It's not even one of these things where it's just like, oh, we just want to... It works in the whole kind of meta-ness of it as well, is that you would get someone else to play the character. It's not just a case of, oh, Tim Allen's not doing it. It's like, well, no, that's how it kind of works.
Yeah, it would work if, like, the cartoon is voiced by Tim Allen and also the action figure, because you can explain that with a sound chip.
Exactly.
But by doing it this way, you can completely change it and do what you want with it if it's based in semi-reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like that it can work either before or after Toy Story. Like, it could be Hollywood years later in 2022 making this film based on, an old show, an old action figure line, or even a remake of an existing film. And it works it being, the exploits of the character that led to the toy. It works in whichever way you look at it in terms of the timeline. Either it's before Toy Story or it's after Toy Story. It's really, really cool. And that trailer, the tone it struck was just cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck and David Bowie in it, I was like, this is way more thought went into this than even for Pixar, we expected.
Yeah, I had a bit of a Star Wars moment in that trailer as well. I don't know if you two felt that as well. I think there was a scene where it was all swampy and dark.
Yes, he's up peering up over the log or something.
Yeah,
or whatever it was.
So,
it looks stunning. It does look stunning.
Yeah, very excited for two of those films. So I feel like I will be made to sit down to watch a Home Alone film. So expect to hear some crying on a future episode.
In closing, just please give Chris Evans more voiceover work and not the other Chris. I don't mean Chris Hughes either. I mean, there's another Chris who shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a recording booth.
Hemsworth.
No, come on.
No.
I know who you're talking about.
You want to look at him, obviously. He's
the Chris with the exclusionist church and all that
I heard
weird shit.
Apparently the reason he's doing loads of voiceover work now is because you can only get that work without being vaccinated.
That's right.
Which makes me hate his guts even more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Now it makes sense.
That's why he's doing Mario and Garfield.
Yeah.
Matt Berry for Garfield, goddammit.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'll send you a video on Twitter later if you haven't seen it already.
Okay. I was very slightly disappointed. Well, I don't say slightly. I was quite disappointed that Chris Pratt was going to voice Mario when it was announced. Just give it to Charles, mate. You would have sorted it out.
The thing is, I think this is gonna be the downfall of Chris Pratt.
Hopefully.
Like, he comes from basically this, chubby comedic actor and everyone starts to love him, and all of a sudden he goes completely the opposite way and everyone's like, dude, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
It's just a shame he's kind of wrapped up in the Marvel world as well, isn't he, at the moment? So
that's the trouble. But Guardians, obviously, third will happen.
Oh yeah, but I think he's going to be in the next Thor as well, possibly, isn't he? So
probably.
And then whatever performances they can green screen in and patch together.
Yeah. But well, there we go. So I look forward to seeing those films at some point. But let's move on. And I just got a couple of other little bits I want to touch on before we get into it. And the second is we have got an advert coming out in print media.
Ooh.
Yes. Our lovely Rich has designed an advert. And on that advert, it has our brand new logo that Rich has also very lovely designed.
Busy boy.
You have been a busy boy, and it's all beautiful. And that advert is going to appear in the next issue of Sega Mania magazine.
Fucking crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it?
I love it.
So if you don't pick up that magazine and you would like to see the advert, just for the advert alone, just go and buy it. Yeah. You can find the magazine over at Mania Sega on Twitter. They've got another couple of issues that you can buy right now, and I think I mentioned it a few episodes ago when I got a copy of the first issue, and it's all very lovely written. They're going through the years a little bit like we are, with each issue touching upon a year of the 90s and what's happening with Sega in those years. and talking about the games that came out, etc., etc. So it's a good read and written by some lovely people. So yeah, go and check it out if you haven't done so already. And I'm very excited to see this advert in real life. It's going to be beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to smell that page, definitely.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get that baby framed.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, we have a brand new logo, and that's just to celebrate our first year of being a podcast. I
can't believe it's been a year.
Yeah, we made it. The 8th of November was the first episode. The first episode dropped onto our podcast feed. Yeah, so we did it, guys. Well done. We made it. And so Rich has made this lovely logo with 4 distinct fonts in it. You're going to tell the lovely people which ones they were, Rich?
So it was Star Trek Voyager, and then it was Jurassic Park, and then it was Terminator. I can't think why we had Terminator in there. And
strange.
then finally it was basically kind of more just capturing the general feel of like digitizer and teletext. So that's kind of what I went for. I was inspired by.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we promise not to change this logo for quite some time, or until Rich
2
gets
years.
an itch. Yeah, 2 years? Can you manage that much?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait and see. So I went back and remastered our pilot episode because I went back and listened to it, and that was really like noisy with background noise on there and lots of other stuff going on. So I went back and I boosted myself up because I was really quiet on there. Got rid of all that background noise, remastered the whole episode, and then re-released it onto the feed. So that's been live for a week or so. So I hope you've listened back to that and enjoyed that. And if you haven't, then it's sitting there waiting to be listened to. So yeah.
I didn't appreciate you giving us all walkie-talkies though and replacing the word terrorist with the word hippie. And, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary.
I'm sorry, man.
And then there was Chris riding on the do-back in the background as well. It was.
I'm sorry, mate.
It was pointless.
You know, I was a different man back then. What can I say? You know, I learned from my mistakes. I'm a better man, so it won't happen again. And I guess the only other thing I need to mention is that we're on YouTube as well now. I found a lovely app that converts our audio into a video. It's nothing fancy, but it means I can upload the episodes onto YouTube. So if that's how you like to consume your podcast, then that's how you can do it now. It's the last 2 episodes are on there, and every episode going forward from now on will be on there as well. All right, let's get on with the show, because I'm sure whoever is listening to this is going, for fuck's sake, can you just please get on with it? And let's have a quick look at the top 10 top grossing movies in the UK of 1995, shall we, quickly? And please stop me if there's a film that you want to talk about quickly. At number 10, it was Disney's effort, Pocahontas. Never saw it, never have, probably never will, which I'm sure a lot of Disneyites are probably shouting at me, but there's better Disney films to watch with my time, and Pocahontas is not one of them. Number 9 was Die Hard with a Vengeance. I don't know if this film has mixed reactions. I don't know with some people, but I mean, I really liked it. I thought the chemistry between Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson were great.
Wasn't too bad.
The action in it was fun. But I can tell you've got some issues with it, Rich.
It's definitely kind of gone down for me over the years. I'm one of these people, and people kind of think I'm crazy, but I feel like it falls apart after the twist comes in. And you find out that Simon is actually just a piece of shit and he doesn't care about his brother. I kind of like the whole proper revenge thing. And it was just another heist. And it kind of got silly, and McClane surfing on the top of that bullion truck. And I was like, what is this shit? I just like the idea of this bomber, around fucking LA. And it's just...
I think it was showing signs of what was to come from the franchise.
Yeah.
But I think it was the last probably decent Die Hard film that got released, unfortunately.
Well, after this, Bruce Willis just came along and sleepwalked through his projects and took cash, basically. So
pretty
been doing it ever since.
Yeah, which is also a shame, really. The man could have done so much more with his time, I guess, but it is what it is, I guess. So
it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Number 8 was Apollo 13. I feel like we might be getting into that a little bit later. Number 7, get ready, was Waterworld.
Peeper. That's all I've got to say about that.
Fair enough. I still can't quite believe it got to number 7, but there we go. Number 6 was Babe with the nice little pig.
Oh, lovely film.
Number 5 was Braveheart with Mel Gibson.
Cool.
Was it cool?
Not really. It was fine. It was typical Hollywood.
It was not my kind of film at the time at all. And I think and I haven't seen it to this day, and I have no really big urge to watch it. So, is that bad of me? I don't know. No. Okay. Number 4, Casper. I loved Casper when it came out. It was brilliant.
Great little film.
I remember buying it on VHS and watching the shit out of it. Just great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they kind of nailed the conversion from the cartoon, didn't they?
Yeah, it was around that time where obviously they were adapting a lot of these older like shows and cartoons into films, and there was a real differing like range in quality. Some were pretty good. This was the ones that got it just right, and it was obviously it was at that time still with a real like special effects showcases as well, and all the transparencies they were using for the visual effects. It was really quite kind of cutting edge stuff. It was it's really, really nice. It was a lovely little film, and it was impressive to watch as well.
They perfectly blended the physical with the CG, and it just worked. They got a bit deeper and darker than the cartoon ever did, but it's an enjoyable little film and memorable.
I want to watch it now.
Mustachioed cameo and
oh god,
I haven't seen it in years. And I think, and I don't know. I mean, I've never really sat down and watched it with my kids as they grew up, and I don't really know why I didn't do that.
I want to watch it.
But we should, shouldn't we? We should sit down and have a rewatch because, like you say, the whole mix of the live and the CGI, and it's just a fun family film. Yeah. And just a great watch. Yeah. So number 3 was Goldeneye. I feel like we might have something to say about that later. Right. It's all right. It wasn't the worst Bond film. It wasn't the best, but
game was shit.
Which one?
No, it wasn't. It was bloody great. Spoilers.
Yeah. Number 2 was Star Trek Generations. I'm quite happy to see it got to that point at number 2.
I'm blown away, actually. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, GoldenEye took 16 million, nearly just touching 17 million pounds. And Generations took 20. So it shows you how strong Next Generation was at that time.
I'm stunned a Bond film, like the first Bond film in how many years at that point?
6.
Yeah. And it felt like it was a big deal.
Yeah, that's why I want to bring it up. But it's
UK
just
box office, that was weird. They didn't
just like
top out.
It's just strange, isn't it? Like how that had happened. But then I suppose like Star Trek was at this. I guess Next Gen had already finished in the States, so I reckon the UK was still broadcasting the last season or 2 of Next Gen when the film came out, and I think. In the late 90s, Star Trek was at the highest of its powers. Seriously was, and now we're seeing that happen again with all the new projects coming out for Star Trek now. But the 90s, it was a powerhouse of stuff. Merchandise, films, television shows. I mean, for Christ's sake, there was a point where you had, 3 Star Trek shows on the air at the same time.
Crazy.
Yeah, we got overtricked.
Yeah, it was just next gen, DS9, Voyager, and then Enterprise, and it's just like
and all the films.
And I think it was just probably a mixture of that. Like, say, James Bond films every 2 to 3 years you'd have one, and then like you said, Jason, Next Gen was probably still being screened in most countries, so naturally it would be more in the zeitgeist, wouldn't it? Than a kind of obscure property that appeared after 6.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's, as always, as hoping you'll touch upon later, there's always an interesting story to tell behind the scenes of a James Bond film.
Oh,
So,
always.
always. And so let's just have a quick chat about the number one film in the UK of 1995. Any guesses? We've talked about it on a previous episode.
Mortal Kombat?
As if.
I wish.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have, and I've gone completely blank. 95.
It's got. So I'll give you a clue. It's got an actor in it that we dedicated a whole episode to.
Shit, did we dedicate an episode to an actor? Holy crap! Oh, yeah.
1995.
Jesus Christ, Rich! God, yes, that guy, Jim Carrey. So it would have been.
I completely cashed out on that.
Oh dear. What's the matter with you two?
The Mask? I mean, would it
No.
carry over? I mean, because
No.
I forget what cinema releases were like back then. It was back in the day of like 8 months apart.
No, it's also got Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey.
Batman Return.
Oh, Jesus
Forever.
Christ! Yeah. Of course, yeah. Batman. Oh, yeah.
How do I get Returns and Forever mixed
Damn.
up?
Batman Forever.
Well done.
Oh my god.
Yes, Batman Forever. It only took 1 million more than Star Trek, so it only just got there eventually. So,
Our top secret reunion. That is Batman Forever. Love it.
would you say this was the last greatest Batman film of the 90s?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I still do today.
Yeah.
Today, but I think because I was 10 at the time, I would obviously I had barely any concept of what's good or bad. I was just like, they recast. It looks colourful. It's noisy. It's got Jim Carrey in it. What could possibly go wrong? And I still enjoy it even now.
Yeah, again, it's a film I haven't gone back to and watched in quite some time, and it's a film like I want to, just because I have fond memories of it when I think about it, unlike the other film that followed it, which I've tried to erase out of my brain for many reasons. And yeah, I think it was the last greatest Batman film of the 90s, and only the other day I heard that they were like with the Riddler that they nearly gave it to Robin Williams.
Yeah.
How do you think that would have worked?
Yeah.
I think Robin Williams fell out with Warner Brothers over it, I believe.
But do you think he's got?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got.
My brain holds so much information. With Batman Forever, I was obsessed with Batman at this point in the 90s.
Yeah.
And obviously, I loved the 89 one, which I was too young to watch in 89. And Batman Returns, I remember getting on VHS, and I was like, this is amazing. And then Batman Forever came along, and I was like, I don't care. I'll lap it up. I had books, I had all the toys, you name it. And to find out that Robin Williams was, I believe, initially cast and then fell out with Warner Brothers over it.
But do
Or
you
something like that. And
Yeah.
it would have been nuts and crazy, but I don't think it would have been as manic physically, even though Robin Williams is a very physical presence. Jim Carrey's just got that manic ADHD wiry thing about him that
Whether they would have allowed it, but I think Robin Williams would have brought a darker edge to it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
they would have allowed it, but yeah, it wouldn't have gone full like 1 hour photo, which would have been fantastic. But yeah, I think there would be the potential. Jim Carrey, maybe 10 years later, would be able to do that, but at the time he was just Jim Carrey. At the height of his power, he was going to be zany and made of elastic and, doing Jim Carrey things.
But do you think like Robin Williams had the kind of stature? Is that the right word for it? Because like, I think Jim Carrey had the height and the body shape for the Riddler.
Yeah.
More so than Robin Williams. I mean, obviously, I never met the guy in real life, but he always came across on screen like a little shorter than I always imagined the Riddler would be. So in that sense,
with the Riddler from the Adam West show as well, there's always that gangly, wire-framed kind of guy.
Leotard wearing.
Yeah, even in the different versions of the comics and also the Arkham video games is still presented as this tall, wiry framed
So
guy.
maybe the better person got to play him in the end. I feel like I would have liked to have seen Robin Williams attempt it, but I think Jim Carrey probably was the right person in the end. Or is that just a hot take?
I think you could go either way, really. I think Jim Carrey. I think Robin Williams would have been great because at the end of the day, however you draw him on the page or how he's been portrayed previously, I think the Riddler isn't a character that's defined by like his stature or his build. He is obviously all very, very cerebral, and you can kind of be whatever you want him to be. It's not like saying having a character like Kingpin or something in Daredevil where it's meant to be this fridge, or there's plenty of other characters I could use as an example. I think it's the Riddler's presence in terms of how he thinks and talks and acts. So I think you could have got away with it. I'm not saying you could have put Ray Winston in it. That would be wrong, but.
Yeah.
What about me? I riddle me this, you slag. It should have been. I'd have paid to see that. I would have loved it.
Yeah, I would pay for that as well. Have some of that, will ya?
Yeah, you fucking toy. Oh man, I want to watch that now.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
Just a couple of other films that touch the top 20. Quick, there's just two. One of them was Sylvester Stallone's attempt to do Judge Dredd. Any opinions on that?
Sorry, it was like, it was a film. It was fine.
Yeah, it exists.
Kind of comedy halfway through. But,
probably wasn't the take on Judge Dredd that everybody kind of wanted. Which
was cool, but that was it.
Yeah,
and it's just one of those films, isn't it, that like becomes this like. Committee driven, but this and that, but I don't know which comedic actor's great at the moment. I'll put him in as well.
The leading man has to have his face visible for 82% of the movie. Otherwise, the test audiences will lose it and give us a red X, and it's like no. It's like,
and let's put some weird blue contact lenses in Sylvester Stallone's eyes. It's like why?
Yeah, it's a shame. It was many a year until Carl Urban came along and kind of gave us the Judge Dredd film that everybody wanted.
Die in the lane, though.
Sorry?
Die in the lane, though.
Yeah, well, can't be perfect. And the other film I just want to talk about quickly was Stargate. That came in at number 13. And, it was a good film, wasn't it?
I enjoyed Stargate. It gets a lot of negative shit, but I really enjoy it.
Watched it in so long.
Kirk Russell's hair.
I was, perfect flat top.
Yeah.
It's like, I watched it quite a lot, like, before even the TV show was even a thing.
Sure.
Because I was obsessed with, like, the X-Files at the time, and not so much Ancient Aliens, but everyone, it was... it was based on, was that theory of what if aliens did come down and help build it. So, no, the human race is amazing. The human race built these things. We've just lost the know-how of technology that did build them. I sound like a conspiracy nut at the moment, but I loved the film. It asked questions that was just really thought-provoking, and it's just in a cracking score by David Arnold. As well, so swooping, and John Williams, and it's just a nice little film. Yeah,
I mean, it's nothing, excuse the pun, out of this world, but
no.
it was an enjoyable, fun film, and with some interesting concepts in it, as you say. So, and it built up. It was the base of the TV show, which really expanded on the idea, and it was a good show. I quite enjoyed the original Stargate. Spin-offs not so much, but it was a good franchise in the end. I know we've seen what the state of the UK box office was in, and what kind of films was around at the time. Let's move on to our movie picks, and you've probably already kind of guessed what two of them are. So we've only got one surprise. which probably won't be a surprise because you would have seen the movie in the title anyway. So what am I saying? I have no idea. So shut the fuck up, Jason, and let's get on with it. Jesus.
Some people don't read, they just skim over shit.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
They just listen off the strength of the What's Wrong with Wolfie brand, They don't
Yes.
live the content.
Absolutely. So, Chris, I want to hear what you have to say about your film pick. So please, why don't you go first?
Well, I've chosen Goldeneye.
We've pulled the files on anyone who might have had access or authority at 7i. The top name on the list's an old friend of yours, I understand.
Oromov. They made him a general.
He sees himself as the next Iron Man of Russia, which is why our political analysts rule him out. He doesn't fit the profile of a traitor.
Are these the same analysts who said the Goldeneye couldn't exist? Who said the helicopter posed no immediate threat and wasn't worth following?
You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant. A bean counter more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. A relic of the Cold War. Whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
Point taken.
Not quite, 007. If you think for one moment I don't have the balls to send a man out to die, your instincts are dead wrong. I've no compunction about sending you to your death. But I won't do it on a whim, even with your cavalier attitude towards life. I want you to find Goldeneye. Find who took it, what they plan to do with it, and stop it. And if you should come across Oromov, guilty or not, I don't want you running off on some kind of vendetta. Avenging Alec Trevelyan will not bring him back.
You didn't get him killed.
Neither did you. Don't make it personal.
Now, why have you chosen Goldeneye, I wonder?
Because being kind of a biggest James Bond fan growing up, and this is the first one kind of in the 90s, where it had a six-year hiatus due to a lawsuit, and it was one of those films that I never saw in the cinema, but I was conscious of it being around due to TV trailers and film trailers, and so I think it's kind of it's not become a unique thing, but it kind of is, where it was like a soft reboot, and you had Pierce Brosnan, who had auditioned and been given the part in 1986. But then Remington Steele was renewed, tied up in a contract, and then when it went to Timothy Dalton. So finally Pierce gets his break and comes in 1995 with Goldeneye, and what a debut that was. Like, back in 1995, I sound so old saying that, but it was just, again, directed masterfully by Martin Campbell, who anyone who is anything savvy with the franchise will know that he also ushered in Daniel Craig a few years later, about 10 years later. It's just fantastic. It's got, yes, it's dated, yes, it's got some hammy performances, but it's just an enjoyable film, and it's one of my frequent rewatches. It's one of the only Pierce Brosnan ones that I watch more than the others, I think. Well, Die Another Day I've seen probably about twice. Maybe three times.
Two times. Too many.
Just tune out halfway through. It's a good movie up to the halfway point. But yeah, just Martin Campbell comes in, and there's this just explosive, amazing. It's shot beautifully as well. And yeah, Bond was back in big style in 1995 after 6 years.
My dad has always been a big James Bond fan, and I remember watching some of the Sean Connery, Roger Moore ones when growing up. But at this time, I didn't really have that much interest in the James Bond films, and I can't really remember giving this film that much attention until the video game came out.
Yeah, it's a strange one for me as well, because I don't have a direct inspiration for being a fan. I can't pinpoint when I did, but I know that I did before Pierce Brosnan came on the scene. So I knew of them and enjoyed them probably early 90s, probably 91, 92. So, yeah, I was conscious of them, and they were always on a bank holiday. They were always on an Easter Monday, weren't they? You know, that kind of thing. I remember sitting there. I was like, I'm enjoying this. I like this. Like, it's got just, every film's got this perfect balance of just hamminess and over the top and realistic stuff, and it was just enjoyable. It was just something to sort of put on for 2 hours. People shooting stuff, there's big action set pieces, there's humour, and there's some beautifully shot scenery. I've said before, the Bond films just come across sometimes as this beautiful travelogue to places that you would never go to. And yeah, revisiting Goldeneye was a pleasurable experience last week, and it's just shot so well. And they had the guy, Derek Meddings, I believe, come in and do the miniature work, who, if anyone knows that name, is from Thunderbirds.
Oh, yes.
And he had done a lot of miniature work for TV and film through the 60s and 70s and 80s, and I believe he was a friend with one of the production staff from the films, and I think his first miniature work was for the Man with the Golden Gun, maybe?
Wow.
Did Scaramanga's Island miniature, and they blended it perfectly optically in post-production, and yeah, just the miniature work where the Seven Eye crash with the MiGs crashing into the dishes, and the miniature explosion of the dam and chemical facility. It just looks stunning. Yes,
you can see the Thunderbirds in it. I love about it.
You can.
I love it. It's not even like a critical thing. It's like, no. I love that you see that fingerprint on it, and it has that. You just, it's wonderful. Yeah, and it's just, you look at the special effects in Moonraker, and like, they look so brilliantly realistic, because they exist just in miniature form, and it's the only way you can, before CG, even in the 95, it was very early days for CGI still, so to get something believable, you'd have to film it in small scale and blow it up. And it's just, the work's stunning, like you said, Rich, it's just this quaint British thing where you can sort of see the wobble on the plane's wings as it's coming down on the cables. And when you're watching it in, on like a 60-inch 4K television, and you just like, you can see the miniature wobble as it's going down the guy wires to go into the dish. And it's amazing. It's just paced great, and Pierce Brosnan, he was grown in a lab to play James Bond. Yeah.
Do you think
Remington Steele was his audition?
Just look at the guy. He's the perfect lab experiment. He's like the cookie cutter version of James Bond, which I've heard many times, and it's quite accurate, because he wanted to do what Timothy did before, and that was have more control over his character and where he wanted to take the character. And then they were like, look, we're bringing Bond back, but we need to play it safe, which they did. So the soft reboot comes in, and everyone's recast apart from Desmond Llewellyn, and it's just, he is just that quintessential cookie cutter actor. He's tall, he looks the part, and he gave the perfect... Goldeneye is his one, again, with The World's Not Enough, it's two of his best performances as Bond, because he gets the smarminess, but he's not overdone.
Yeah.
He doesn't overdo the cringe, he doesn't overdo the humour. The way that dude walks, I mean, seriously, watch that gun barrel. I've said this before, and I'll stand by it. Pierce has the best gun barrel in the whole franchise. Just watch that dude's confidence. He holds his swagger so straight, and just, it's just great. He's just perfect. And the physical humour as well, like, the bit where he goes to the yacht to find out what's going on with the Admiral, and he has that fight. That fight is perfectly executed, where he just wraps that champagne towel around that dude's head, knees him in the face, throws him down the stairs, and then just casually just mops his brow with that towel. It's just perfect. They got it all in spades, and I've just remembered I didn't do a rundown of the plot, did I?
That's fine. I was going to ask you about the story, but you saying about that and that fight, it kind of, like you said, he did it well to show Bond's vicious side in those kind of moments, but he still managed to pull out Bond's humorous side as well, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and Pierce just, again, with Timothy, just like, before Daniel came along, those two they nailed the physicality of that character. And by having actors like Tim and like Pierce, like, Roger became unbelievable when he started putting, he didn't work out, he didn't go to the gym, did he? Let's face it. And this 6'4" hulking Timothy Dalton comes in, and it's just, no one was prepared for that. And until Daniel Craig came in, that was the first time Bond, the actor, had been given not full control, but semi-control of where to took the character. So let's differentiate from Roger and let's go a bit dark already. And if no one has seen License to Kill, please watch License to Kill.
So
Great film.
Watch that film. Yes, it kind of looks like a TV movie. Yes, it's very Die Hard, but that was the point. Bond emulates what's big at the time.
Great film. Great
Yeah.
song. Great
Just
title
watch License
song
to Kill,
too.
and then you can see the seeds of that Daniel Craig era being tested back in 1989. Bond's hurt, Bond bleeds, Bond suffers, and he goes rogue, and it's just... And again, they played it so safe with Pierce, and they were like, right, let's have this perfect balance. But I'll go through the plot with you if you want, Jason. Kind of run away from me there.
No, you're right. I wanted to ask you if you thought that Goldeneye's story was one of the better James Bond stories, or do you think it was a bit silly?
It was very paint by numbers, which most Bond films are, regardless of when they're made. But it kind of grounded the technology in a believable way, where an old Russian satellite that can emit an EMP pulse and wipe out cities it's quite clever and very advanced for, that kind of 1995 film, but it kind of works. But I think the way they handle Sean Bean's Alec Trevelyan reveal, it kind of runs away with itself. Like, there doesn't need to be this massive bank of computers in this massive satellite dish.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be there for the film. I think it was all visual substance over anything else. I just wanted that visual. But as it stands, it's perfectly kind of believable that a single-use EMP satellite to wipe out, entire cities, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's handled really well. Yes, it's a bit bloated like any Bond film, but
this was like one of the first kind of Bond films where they brought more modern technology into the storyline like that.
Yeah, I mean, Goldeneye was, I think the satellite was, said to be like 10 years old, so like a Cold War experiment.
Yeah.
That the UK were like, and M confirms it exists and it can be used, and like, it's just handled really well. But like I said, until you get to the end of the film, none of the computers don't. Yes, transferring money digitally and then wiping out the evidence makes sense. But then there's no massive motive. He's not going to take over the world. It was just financial gain.
Mm-hmm. So
that kind of grounds it like that. But the film just looks and plays just fantastically. And
what was your favourite part of the film? Was it the tank?
That scene is, again, all the scenes are played beautifully, and you just got this shot, and he jumps out the window, and Natalia's been captured, and it's a classic Bond moment where you don't see it coming, and he jumps out, stands on the side, and looks around, and then the camera just focuses on a tank.
Yeah.
And apparently it took, I think, days of choreography with a stunt driver. Days to get the timing correct. Because if the skid of the car was slightly off, then the tank would come through the wall too soon or too late and it wouldn't work. Or it'd wipe out the stunt driver in the car. But just the way it bursts through that brick wall, and all shot on Leavesden Studios. They rebuilt all of St. Petersburg city streets there to film, and it's just... up until that point in the film, you didn't see so much carnage, and it was just like, what the hell? Literally destroying buildings, monuments, and it just bursts through.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that they replaced Eric Serra's score for that scene.
Yeah.
Because Eric Serra's score, I've heard, like, it just, like Home Alone 2, it just sounds like he recorded a tool chest going down some stairs and then just going, there's the score. It's literally just like, it's literally like that. It is literally like kitchen equipment being thrown down some stone steps and then put it through a synthesizer and gone, there's your score, Martin Campbell. And he was like, apparently he was like, this is really, really bad. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who it was who rescored that scene, but for a few certain scenes where the Bond theme comes in.
Oh, and just like spikes.
Yeah, like, he gave this guy like it was a 48-hour job, and it's like, we need an orchestral Bond theme for some of these shots in this film because this soundtrack is just not working. So yeah, and then this massive crescendo and this da-da-da-da, this tank just bursts through this thing and just starts wiping out St. Petersburg. It's just sublimely shot, and you get the signature Pierce's idea of like looking around at the mess and just sitting back and straightening his tie. He did that in all 4 of his films, that whole signature tie straightening movement. But it has so many set pieces and so many clever jokes, and the performances and the chemistry between Pierce and Isabella Scorupco, and the chemistry between even him and Judi Dench when they're sitting in the office and she's so cold, and it cements that she's a new iteration of M. And it's just like, they even put it in the script. They even say, oh, the new M is a woman. And this Robbie Coltrane just like bowling out the park is just fantastic as Zukovsky. And just, it's just set up and filmed really well. And I've always enjoyed it. And I forgot, the new gun barrel. Where instead of just a static shot, it's an actual CG gun barrel with the reflections moving around. And it's just such a subtle touch. And it just works so well for the modern 90s version, where if you don't look at it, it's not moving, and it looks like the old gun barrel, but it's completely CG, and it just rotates, and it's just beautifully shot. And BMW, we had BMW in there as well. And again, if it wasn't for BMW, we wouldn't have had the film, because they threw a lot of cash at the film. Yeah. Said, here, make your film and we'll build you a car. And then you get the Z3, which was purposely designed.
Was it?
To be a Bond car.
Wow.
Yep. I think in 94, they were in pre-production, they approached car companies, and BMW said, yeah, we'll give you all this money. They literally designed the Z3 Roadster to be in a Bond film.
I always kind of wondered why it was suddenly a BMW's and not Aston Martin's. And,
it was all to do with funding and money. It's like James Bond went from Rolex watches to Omega, because Omega in 95 were like, have a shed-load of cash, make your movie. Yeah. I mean, that is one of the things about the James Bond film, especially in the 90s. It was a bit of a sellout, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, even Daniel Craig with Heineken bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I suppose.
The product placement is rife in these films, but if it wasn't for the product placement,
it wouldn't have got made.
They wouldn't have got made. Yeah. Which is why you have Omega, and you see the Omega watch, you see it on 006 even has his old version. So you see 2 Omegas in the same shot, and then you have another close-up of the laser watch, and then you have another close-up of the watch being on his wrist while he's doing something else. And, again, it teeters on that Wayne's World sponsorship gag.
Exactly. Yeah.
With the Pepsi and the Pepsi and the Doritos and the Pizza Hut and but Bond films have always done that since the 60s, but also it works in universe as well, because you see adverts everywhere. Sure. If you're out in a main city, you see adverts for everything, so it kind of works. But it does go a bit OTT sometimes in a Bond movie or any film. Yeah. Look at Man of Steel, for instance?
Yes.
Where they're in downtown Smallville, and it's just like, how many more ads for shops and restaurants could there possibly be in one shop?
Middle town, like little podunk town in America, and you've got freaking
KFC.
What was it now? What's the one that's prominent in it? I can't remember now. Damn.
It was just
I blocked this film completely out of my memory,
Denny's,
so I've got no idea.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Yeah, Goldeneye just, and the performances from Famke Janssen as well. I mean, seriously, that Jesus. She was so young as well, and she was just like cemented her reputation in these films to a point where it's just like, that was amazing. As Xenia on a top. And again, a perfect joke executed by Pierce on a top. And it just works so well. They didn't overdo it. And it's lovely seeing Desmond Llewellyn back as Q and seeing his old equipment.
And would you say the song by Tina Turner was a fitting Bond theme for this one?
It's actually one of my favourites and always has been.
Okay.
I think because I was young at the time and obviously Bond was back and you needed some powerhouse ballad, really. And with Tina Turner, and yes, it's written by Bono and The Edge, but, you know, no one's perfect. But it's just a belter of a song, and you've got the titles going over it about the, you know, dissolving of the oh my god, Iron Curtain. Sorry,
it's all right.
Of communism, and just like, you know, hammering and destroying all the remnants of it, and it's just. And again, Sean Bean's performance as Alec Trevelyan doesn't get so much love, and it should do, because it's just stunning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he plays off with Pierce so well.
Yeah,
and you believe that they've had these missions together. You believe they've known each other for like 10 years.
Yeah,
and I believe, if I remember rightly, he actually auditioned for the role, and they liked him so much that they had him on for the villain. I might be getting my facts wrong, but
no, surely not.
No, but yeah, and Samantha Bond as Moneypenny, I thought she was fantastic, and they really modernised it as well. They like properly made it, and it still has been up until this point very relevant.
Sure.
To modern day, like.
Yeah. So while we're on the subject of James Bond, quickly before we move on, I want to hear from both of you. Which is your favourite James Bond, Chris? You could go first. Is Pierce your favourite Bond or no, one of the others?
Mine is tied with Timothy and Daniel.
Oh, okay.
They come joint top, unfortunately. All you James Bond fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce was okay, but was, again, a victim of design by committee.
Rich, who's your favourite Bond?
My answer is going to be pretty much identical to Chris's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Timothy Dalton, and at the same time, it's hard to gauge him because he did only have a very, short crack at it. And obviously, we've had way more time to grow with Daniel Craig, and just become enamored with his take on the character. So I could say I'd lean more towards Daniel Craig, but that also seems like the really easy answer. So I'm going to kind of say it's a bit of a split between the two.
Yeah.
I'm like whatever fine about Connery. I don't like Roger Moore at all. And Lazenby, a good Bond in a great movie. It's kind of the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And he does kind of get shat upon, and because, he did the one film, and I do still think sometimes as well there's that sense, especially, with British audiences, British people, they will kind of write him off because he wasn't actually British, and that kind of taints him to some people. I don't know why, but whatever.
Well, if you two are interested, then my favourite James Bond was Roger Moore. So, moving on.
Always one. The Alan Partridge pick.
Stop getting Bond wrong.
Love a bit of Roger Moore. It's cool.
Bit of Bush.
As Chris mentioned, GoldenEye was released 6 years after Licence to Kill, but world politics had changed dramatically in the interim. GoldenEye was the first James Bond film to be produced since the fall of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the end of the Cold War, and there was doubt over the character's relevance in the modern world. Some in the film industry felt it would be futile for the Bond series to make a comeback, and that it was best left as an icon in the past. The producers even thought of new concepts for the series, such as a period piece set in the 1960s, a female 007, or a black James Bond. Ultimately, they chose to return to the basics of the series, not following the sensitive and caring bond of the Dalton films or the political correctness that started to permeate the decade. The film came to be seen as a successful revitalization, and it effectively adapted the series for the 90s. One of Goldeneye's innovations includes the casting of a female M. In the film, the new M quickly establishes her authority, remarking that Bond is a sexist, misogynist dinosaur and a relic of the Cold War. This is an early indication that Bond is portrayed as far less tempestuous than Timothy Dalton's Bond from 1989. Thanks to Wikipedia for those interesting facts.
Put out the big words there, Jason.
I know, right?
Well,
It was quite heavy, I'm telling you. I think I pulled it off quite well. Released on the 24th of November 1995, it had a $60 million budget, and it raked in $352 million. So
bad.
Happy days. That's worldwide, and it's sitting quite comfortably with a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Nice pick, Chris. Beautiful.
Yeah, I could have gone into so much more detail, but
I'm sure you
I had
could.
to rein it in because my back and timing is...
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe one day we'll do a James Bond special and we'll just let you go.
Just sit back and relax.
Yeah, sit back and enjoy the ride. Let's move on then to Rich's pick. Rich, you've got the surprise.
I'm always for the
factor.
surprises, me.
Yeah.
So I've got... So go on, Jason. You're the host.
I was just about to say, what wonderful movie have you chosen to talk about?
Well, probably going a bit strong, but I've got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, which was the first Power Rangers movie made after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
This summer, our world will come under attack.
The mayor has declared a state of emergency
By the most evil force ever known. He has armies at his command, and only one power on Earth can stop him. Welcome to my nightmare. Now, the ultimate adventure begins.
Hi, honey. I'm home.
You garlic-sucking dingo brain!
We're the Power Rangers. Oh, where's my autograph book?
More action. More adventure. More power.
The ooze is back. Use, you lose.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Yes, this one's like the whole franchise itself. This one's an interesting one in that it was something that I was into at the time that it probably wasn't age appropriate, like things that came before it. I mean, yeah, I love my Turtles, my Ghostbusters and all that stuff, but I was already 11, 12 at the height of Power Rangers, and I was one of those kids in school that was kind of into it.
Yeah,
Didn't really want to broadcast it too much because you got rinsed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone's talking about fingering and shagging by then, and I'm watching, Pudgy Pig.
Yeah.
People's
You weren't the only one.
Sparks coming out people's chests.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, this is the best. So I was heavily into the show for its, flaws. Loved it. Very colourful. I knew it was part Japanese, well, mostly Japanese, partly American. But I just got heavily into it. And then they announced the film. And I think, like a lot of things we talk about that we're into, it came at that time when I started to kind of understand how the sausage was made. And I started to look at the intricacies of it. It wasn't just like, oh, it's a Power Rangers film. It was like, I saw photos in a magazine about it and I could see the colour palette was duller. And the suits looked really cool and had a kind of armoured look to them. And I got into that. I saw the production at play. And I knew it was like our Power Rangers. It was all American, completely produced in one place. It wasn't spliced footage. And it just got me excited. Like, again, like I said, seeing that White Ranger suit for the first time, I just shit myself. Like, and I need to see this film when it comes out. And I said I was like 12 at this point, and I knew I'd be one of the oldest people in the theater. And I did see it in the cinema when it came out. And I had a really, really fun time. It was everything it needed to be. It was just a big episode of the show. It did things, obviously, you couldn't do with a Saban TV budget. The opening starts with freaking, a skydiving scene set to Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is a film. The way it's shot, the grain, the color grading. It's just like, I'm watching a Power Rangers film that looks like, high budget. And
that's one of the things I really liked about TV shows that got adapted to a movie. You could see it was kind of like the same, but it was different.
Yeah.
With those different shots and that slightly more money that they get from a TV episode. Just made it that little bit more special, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everything about this, seeing the tweaks like, chrome, metallic, whatever, the logo, that absolutely sweet version of the theme tune for the movie, which I love. I mean, the original theme's a banger anyway. It's pure, it is pure metal. The guitars in it are just fantastic. And then the movie version just blows it away. But yeah, from the moment they jump out of the plane to the awkward green screen, Tommy being a badass, skyboarding, it hit the ground running. You got hyped. It was everything the show should have been. Bunch of teens just doing things that normal people wouldn't do. I don't know where they get their money from for these pursuits, but they do it. And they're just constantly moving. They just jump out of a plane, land on the ground, and then they're rollerblading. It's like, yeah, sure. like literally breathless transition into another activity that I wouldn't have the energy or the care to do. And then obviously we get into your proper Power Rangers staples. You see Rita and Lord Zed, and I was just in my element in cinema. I'm like, yes, it's the TV show. And then they kind of get pushed to one side, but then we get Belloc from Indiana Jones in the form of Ivan Ooze, which I was like, again, you got Paul freaking Freeman. Here's an actor in Power Rangers. I'm like, great, this is a film. This is a proper film. And it's great. He's got a great presence. You can tell he's having a lot of fun just hamming it up.
I was going to say, did he look like he regretted his choice on going into that film or not? But you answered the question.
I guess I can't speak for the man. I've never actually read anything he said about it. He may have shat upon it. It might be one of those Mario Brothers movie affairs, but watching him on screen, it looks like he's having fun. You get these actors, they sink their teeth into something, and I know kids are going to watch it. I know kids are going to boo him in the cinema. It's pantomime. It's love it. It probably was an easy shoot as well. A few days in Australia doing some, short scenes, and then boom, done. Get it all done in a few days because you've got all the prosthetics to wear as well. Because the guy is head to toe purple and oozy, and it's he's just having lots of fun, and I think you feel that as an audience member. But the show does kind of follow the pattern of the movie does kind of follow the pattern of the show. Ivan Ooze shows up. You see the new henchmen. I forget what they're called. And then you get to the Power Rangers fight and the morphing sequence. And again, I'm in the cinema. I'm like, it's fucking on. Let's do this. And it is an incredibly short fight, but it's a very, very cool fight. And even things like the fact that they're fighting on this construction site, but it's at night time as well. And that's not something, watching the TV show for the 3 years prior to the film coming out, I'm like, I've never seen the Power Rangers at night before. And it sounds such a weird observation, but again, it felt like, okay, I'm watching this in a different lens. It looks darker, it looks grittier, and it looks cool. So I just got heavily into it. And yeah, there's so much to say. I mean, beyond that, then the film completely kind of goes in a different direction, and you could say, many people will say, that's where it kind of goes off the rails a bit. When the Power Rangers lose their powers and then they get sent off to some island somewhere near New South Wales, and and then they're trying to, of course, yes, Zordon dies before that. Spoilers. That was sad. So they end up on this island, and they meet a woman called Dulcia, I think her name was. She was something for the dads, I can't remember. But so yeah, they end up on this island, and then they run into a bunch of skeleton dinosaurs. Keep in mind, this was like 2 years after Jurassic Park.
I loved that scene. I think it was great.
And there's a bit where Rocky says, "Welcome to Jurassic Park."
Yeah.
It's like pure pop, and even then, again, that as well. It was like something I didn't have in Power Rangers because there was a pop culture reference. You didn't get those in the show. It was very on the nose, yes, but it was good to kind of see Power Rangers existing in a world that we knew. They're talking about things that we talked about, whereas the show felt very much like it existed in this weird bubble where nothing was referenced. It was all just everything that was happening in front of them. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that sequence of the dinosaurs, yes, it looks very wire worky and everything's kind of held together by, I don't know what the techniques they used, but yeah, it's still an impressive sequence, even if the dinosaurs look like they're kind of weightless and being propped up. They're like the little sock puppets in a way. It's a really cool sequence. The score for the film is fantastic. I forget who did the music. I know THX did the sound editing for it, and the film did sound really, really good. Again, like I said, the music throughout fantastic, sound effects great. I just think this film could have been a complete turd, and yes, to 80% of the audience, it was a turd. It was just noise and distraction. It was pure fast food for kids that just want to watch people unnecessarily doing backflips when they could just walk from A to B. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The final Zord fight at the end is a CGI fucking awful, yes.
Yeah.
But was I excited at the time to see a Zord fight that wasn't people in costumes? Yes. And it was cool. Yeah, it's just not a lot more I can say about it. It was fun to revisit it again. Tommy, the White Ranger, badass, will always be. Maybe Joe Johnson, love you. I met Bulk and Skull once. That was cool.
That was amazing. That's one of my best convention experiences.
Yeah. And I met the Blue Ranger as well. So there's all those little things that I think even watching the film now, I'm kind of reminded of it and puts a smile on my face. Things that I felt then, things that I've done since related to it. It sticks with you. Again, Power Rangers was something I was kind of embarrassed to be into, but deep down I didn't care. It made me happy. Yeah. And the film made me happy. It's not one of the best things ever, but it did everything it needed to do. It was very much a product of its time. They had to capitalize on it. They had to put a film out there, get it made, make some money. Didn't make much money, but they made some money. Just do it before the franchise burned out.
That line you said a minute ago about embarrassed to be a Power Rangers fan. I mean, you wasn't the only one. Obviously, that it was big enough to have a movie created about the TV show. I mean, I can't say much about Power Rangers. I was one of those people that looked at it and scoffed at it because of the way it looked. And I feel a little bit bad about that now, thinking about it, because I went by its looks and not by everything else that might have been going on. That it was just a fun thing to watch. It had all the rubber, it looked rubbery, and like the effects were shit, and what's all this overacting stuff going on, and it for a person that was kind of into science fiction and kind of the kind of shows that are a bit out there, Power Rangers just didn't. I don't know. Like I say, I kind of went, I'm not watching that stuff. I mean, is that probably why you felt embarrassed? Because you thought a lot of people felt that way about it?
It was purely an age thing. I felt like I was just over the line. Like, there was plenty of things that kids would get into at that point. I think it was kind of, unless you were like between the years of like 6, maybe 7, 8 years old, you're probably too old for it. If it was almost like nowadays you'd have been in your element because nerd culture and people openly loving new shows that are coming out. People in their 30s are watching them, but then it very much was, oh, that's kids stuff, and now you're growing up, and it felt like it was that last gasp I had, having left my childhood behind, and there was this show that I wished I was maybe a few years younger so I could openly just be in love with it. I could have all the toys, but by then I was like, I can't really have the toys.
Yeah.
I did have them. I had the Megazord.
Yeah. My cousin Curtis did, and it was the best toy I've ever seen in my life.
Badass.
And again, like you, I saw it in Faversham Cinema with a group of friends from where we used to live, and it was just an amazing experience. It was just like you said, it was loud. It was, great set pieces. Everyone's hamming up, and you've got the banter between Rita, Zed, and Ivan Ooze is just legendary, and Goldar as well.
Oh, Goldar.
It's like Lord Zed is just sublime in it, and when she threatens to have chicken wings to Goldar, and it's just like, what? But again, I think we were watching Power Rangers. When did it come to the UK?
No, 93, 94 would have been like Sky, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we were watching it on BBC or ITV.
ITV, yeah.
Probably late 93, early 94, because I remember not being at secondary school.
It was still being around the point as well, I think, where you were seeing like Jason and Trini and like Zach in the show. The film came over here,
and then
there's
I was like,
Rocky,
who's that? I was like, who?
Like,
I had no idea who's where, and it was before everyone had mainstream internet as well. It was like,
yeah.
And I remember sitting there with my mates, and we were like, we don't know who these people are. Like, we still got, like you said, Rich, we've got like the original crew still we're watching. But those suits, mate, oh my god, they
hold up like, oh.
They put those original Japanese leotards to shame. The armour on it and the gadgets that they put into them as well, like the searchlights and stuff. It's just like, oh, these are amazing.
Yep.
I mean, on top of that as well, I mean, all I can say, along with Dumb and Dumber around that time, great movie soundtrack as well. You had, Chili Peppers, High Ground. You had, what's it called again now? Trouble by that one. Oh, what are they called? Shampoo, does it?
Yeah,
Shampoo,
come
Trouble.
along and it's burst a bubble up.
You had Van Halen, Dreams. I'm like, this is a cracking soundtrack. And then obviously you had all the actual music for the movie as well, like the incidental stuff, which was banging. Good stuff. Yeah.
I kind of wish, in some ways, that I was so negative to the Power Rangers back then, and kind of wish I gave it a chance. Even after just hearing what you said about the film, kind of gave me instant regrets about it also. I completely missed the boat on Power Rangers and what it brought. So
I think you would have been in secondary school, wouldn't you?
Probably,
as well.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe I had moved on from that kind of show. Maybe I was a little bit older, but I mean, as Rich has shown, like, age doesn't really.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
Nowadays you're laughing, but then it was like, oh yeah, I'm a kid. Or
yeah,
I'm not a kid.
Well, coming from a Star Trek nerd, that was just like,
yeah,
into my sci-fi, but no one else was kind of thing, and I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah. Well, in an original script, the Rangers were supposed to fight giant rat monsters that Ivan Ooze created. Because the suits didn't work well enough and looked too low budget for the movie, the rat monsters were instead replaced by the ooze creatures that Ivan creates in the film. However, the rat creature suits didn't go to waste either. Instead, they would later appear in the Return of the Green Ranger storyline of the Power Rangers television series.
Right.
And in an advertisement in a Sydney newspaper telling fans to come and see the fireworks show with the Power Rangers at Darling Harbour was a ploy to get people to the filming of the final crowd scene, so the producers would not have to pay for extras.
Oh, fucking hell. Love it. Beautiful. Carny bullshit. Love it.
Yeah. I pulled up a critic review of Power Rangers, the movie, and it's by Karen James of the New York Times, and she thought that story-wise it resembles multiple episodes of the television series strung together with slightly better special effects, and that the result was loud, headache-inducing and boring for adults, but that children would enjoy it. James further stated that too much of its running time is spent showing the Rangers without their powers. Roger Ebert gave it only half a star out of a possible 4, saying that it is as close as you can get to absolute nothing and still have a product to project on the screen, comparing it to the synthetic foods in brightly marketed packaging with no nutritional content. He felt that the characters, with the exception of Ivan Ooze, curious that 6,000 years ago he would have had an English name. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
No. Lacked personalities, and that the scenes of monsters rampaging through the city harkened back to the worst Japanese monster films. Would you say that's fair? Critics.
Why do you use Japanese monster films as like a negative? What the hell? Like that's a good thing. If you're capturing that, you did it well. Like I understand what Ebert's point was. So
Well, he was obviously running out of material to put in his review, so...
yeah, I mean, he looked like a Power Ranger monster, but at the end, didn't he? So...
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's very but yeah, he's angered me. And speaking of the Power Rangers, Roger, how dare you?
How dare you? Richard's on a warpath now. He's going on a Twitter warpath right now.
you can hear the tapping already.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't going to block me, so I'm not worried about it. So.
Power Rangers was released on the 21st of July 1995 with a budget of $20 million. It
Cheap.
took $66 million worldwide and sits at a nice 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb. So that's good. It had a good return, I'd say.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Yeah, happy with that, I'd say, if I was a producer or saying it for the film. Okay, well, let's get on to my film quickly as time's ticking on. And the film that I chose from 1995 was Apollo 13.
I've been going over the numbers again. Have they called up with a re-entry plan yet? Because we're coming in too shallow.
We're working on something, Jack. Just hold on.
I can't remember the ratio to temperature. We got no references on board.
Well, let's see if Houston can pull up the mil specs on it.
Listen. They gave us too much Delta V. They had us burned too long. At this rate, we're going to skip right out of the atmosphere, and we're never going to get back.
What are you talking about? How'd you figure that?
I can add.
Jack, they've got half the PhDs on the planet
Houston
working
says
on
are
this.
right on the money.
And what if they had made a mistake, all right, and there was no way to reverse it? Do you think they would tell us? There's no reason for them to tell us.
You mean they're not going to tell us? That's bullshit.
All right, there's 1,000 things that have to happen in order. We are on number 8. You're talking about number 692.
And in the meantime, I'm trying to tell you we're coming in too fast. I think they know it, and I think that's why we don't have a goddamn re-entry plan, all right?
Duly noted. Thank you, Jack.
Ow! God damn it!
Hey!
Piece of shit!
This piece of shit's going to get you home.
All right.
That's because that's the only thing we got left, Jack.
Now, what are you saying, Fred?
Oh, I think you know what I'm saying.
Now, wait a minute. All I did was stir those tanks.
What was that gauge reading before you hit the switch?
Hey, don't tell me how to fly the damn CM, all right?
You don't
They brought
even
me in
know,
here
do you?
to do a job. They asked me to stir the damn tanks, and I stirred the tanks.
Jack, stop kicking yourself in the ass.
This is not my fault.
No one is saying it is. If I'm in the left-hand seat when the call comes up, I stir the tanks.
Yeah, well, tell him that.
I just asked you what the gauge was reading.
All right, we're not.
And you don't know.
All right, look, we're not doing this, gentlemen. We are not going to do this. We're not going to go bouncing off the walls for 10 minutes. Because we're just going to end up right back here with the same problems. Trying to figure out how to stay alive.
Aquarius, this is Houston.
Are we on Vox?
No, we're not on Vox.
Yeah, Houston, this is Aquarius. Go ahead.
Now, before I go on, have you two seen this film?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Ooh, yes and no.
You've never seen Apollo 13?
No. And the
you-
funny thing is, like, more recently, in recent years, I've got more and more into like space stuff, and it's a film I should go and watch, but I've never watched it. I meant to, but I never did. So this is enlightening for me.
Apollo 13, it's based on true events of the Apollo 13 space flight, and follows the 3 astronauts that took part in that flight. And it's got such a great cast in this film. Tom Hanks, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Kevin Bacon. I know I'm forgetting someone. Who am I forgetting, Chris? Am I forgetting someone?
Who have you said, sorry?
Tom Hanks, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Kevin Bacon.
The late Bill Paxton.
And that's it, Bill Paxton. And Apollo 13, I think it was one of the first space films I remember watching, but I really appreciated it from the real life aspect that Ron Howard kind of tried to put into the film. It really felt like it was giving me an insight into space travel and the what was involved in it. You know, the equipment and everything else that they used in the film. I think a lot of it was from NASA and or just replicated from real things, but they put so much detail into those pieces that it really came across on the screen. And just obviously with the kind of cast that they got for this film really meant that they got some really top-notch acting out of the actors, which obviously helped in the film. But I think they just played this film it was so placed so well. You know, they emphasised on I'm really sorry I can't remember the character name, but like Hank's wife and their relationship and what was going on in his family as he was having all these troubles on the spaceship. I'm saying spaceship like it's fucking Star Trek. Do you know what I mean? What? What is
it still is a spaceship.
I know, right?
That's if you believe we went to the moon. That's for another podcast.
That is for another podcast. And it really grounded the story, really made it so like you could emphasise with the character, with the wife, you know, like it, I don't know, instead of it being like the whole film was just set in space and about these 3 astronauts trying to deal with these issues that they were getting, to see the other side and what the families what was happening with the families as well, just really helped ground the film for me, made it more real. And I think like Ron Howard really dealt really well with the action pieces as well, about when things did go wrong and the training that the actors must have gone through to make it feel so real, like when they were dealing with the issues and going through the manuals and all the buttons and everything else. Yeah, it was just a really memorizing film for me to watch when it came out, just to see that in action. Was it that the same for you, Chris?
Yeah, I have very fond memories of Apollo 13. I remember I didn't watch it obviously when it was out because obviously I was too young, I think. But I remember we rented it from a video store. Must be maybe a year or so afterwards. And I remember at the time I was proper into space, so that was everything from fictional space travel to real life space travel. And I just remember being captivated by how they recreated mission control and rebuilt the lunar lander stuff and the attention to technical detail as well and costuming and everything. And as I watched it, I think 2 weeks ago, just before we were originally going to record, and I remember sitting there going, wow, like coming from someone like me who I love movie props and the way they're made and the attention to how they're produced to make them authentic. I remember sitting there the other week going, this looks beautiful.
Even now, doesn't it?
Now. Yeah, you could mute the TV and just look at the production. It's just stunning. The way it's done, and I remember I was obsessed with everything spaced in the night space, and yeah, it didn't speak to me as much because I think I was still finding my interests at that point, because I probably was it 1995, so I would have literally just been 11. So
yeah.
And when I rewatched it, I was just like, this is beautiful. even the shots filmed in the capsule. I mean, you know the actors are on wires, but they really sell it. It's done really well, and
it's so believable.
Yeah, and obviously, like any film like that, it doesn't have much action set pieces, so you have to make the action, like, say, the way the ship is shot from the outside for the special effects shots. You have to make it look and feel dangerous, basically. You have to keep that interest, and obviously not a lot happens in National Mission Control, but at this point it did, because they were on their way to the moon and then they lost their oxygen, and I just love seeing that problem solving when they're like, you know, they work out that, like, the CO2 scrubber,
they needed to correct
it's made by a different company to the one that's in the lander, and they were like, we need to get this square peg in this round hole, and you have 12 hours to do it.
But it's so believable, like you can just believe that that's what NASA would need to do, but need to have those kind of people on hand in case they had these kind of problems. And it just made it even more real for me when I watched the film. It helped that this film was made when it was made, because I think if it was made today, there'd be too much CGI.
This is what used. I mean. I'm like, when I bring up miniatures and bigatures like almost every podcast we record, but it's one of my dream jobs, and I would literally give up anything to go and work in a special effects house, such as, say, Aardman Animations or Leica Studios, or work for Wes Anderson. If you've seen a Wes Anderson movie, seriously, check that dude's stuff out. It looks stunning. Have you guys seen any Wes Anderson films?
I have not.
Honestly,
not in a while.
Again, it's very Marmite. Like, you like his stuff or you don't, but
very twee and
he matches his very irreverent look at the world, but he marries it beautifully by using as much physical props and miniatures and animation when he can. Perfect film. What have you seen? The Life Aquatic?
No.
With Bill Murray.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, that not cutaway. Is it a cutaway where you've got different rooms on the submarine? It's a film about a film within a film. So that's a film about the production of a film, but within another film. And by Wes Anderson and Leica Studios and Aardman still using miniatures and still using traditional animation, Hollywood has gone back to that. It never left the James Bond films, but it's left franchises like Star Trek. And it's a shame, because the miniature work for especially spaceships, like we talked about Apollo 13, if that wasn't made physically, it wouldn't look right, because your eyes would tell you that's a flat image. CG can say to you, this is a 3D image and this is happening within this 4-dimensional space. And it's like, no, fuck off. It's my eyes are telling me it's a 2D image, but she's been tricked into believing it's a 3D image. But if you'd watched Apollo 13, and I was blown away by the effects in this film.
Yeah.
I thought it was stunning. The way the explosion happens and the way they optically match the special effects to it, and they film all at a high speed, and the intricacy of the physics. And I believe for the set as well, they did one tracking shot in the film, which I think was a green or blue screen map, where you've got, I think it's Tom Hanks as Jim Lowell looking out of the window, and the camera tracks away from the window. It tracks over the surface of the capsule and then to the rear end of it as it's hurtling towards nothingness. And I think that was achieved with full-scale mock-up on the set. And then literally, I don't know how they did it, but they motion controlled into the miniature to get because they didn't build the whole thing to film in. But it's just, physical all the way. Just, it works so well. And you need to. When you look at NASA stuff, and it's just like, it is so intricate that you can see everything. And that's what I loved about revisiting Apollo 13, because I don't think I've seen it for about 15 years. And I was just like, this is just a joy to watch.
Yeah, I need to give it a crack, definitely, after having done this pod.
Yeah, it's just stunning. It's one of those films that are shot beautifully, it's framed beautifully, and it's just Like, there was, I think I brought it up before, I can't remember who it was, someone released a cut of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was completely black and white, and no sound. I think it was done for a film school, and they said, watch how Spielberg frames a shot. And you don't need the colour, you don't need the audio, just black and white, and watch how Spielberg frames these shots with the foreground and sides and background. Exactly the same with Ron Howard, and this film is stunning. It's just beautiful.
It's his best film he's done.
Yeah, it's just, it looks and it works so well, and it's the believable characters played by the actors is just stunning. And Ed Harris's turn as, I can't remember the flight controller's name, it escapes me, but Ed Harris went full method. Started smoking cigars and wearing waistcoats and stuff like that. I think he even went to the point of finding a tailor to make different waistcoats so Ed Harris could, I think he could wear them out and stuff. He went proper method, and Ed Harris is fantastic in this. You actually believe he's this no shit talking NASA CEO, just like get the job done or you fuck off. Or you kill these astronauts, and it's just great. And it's so suspenseful as well, even though you know they're going to survive. You know it's a true story, but one of them gets ill in a capsule and stuff, and he's
Yeah.
But it's just a great movie.
Yeah.
Just watch it. It's just fantastic.
We watched this with my eldest son, and afterwards I asked him what he thought, and he said, "Yeah, it was alright." So that's a high ranking from my son to get an alright. So Apollo 13 has succeeded in that. Apparently, when planning the film, director Ron Howard decided that every shot of the film would be original and that no mission footage would be used. The spacecraft interiors were constructed by the Kansas Cosmosphere and Space Center's Spaceworks, which also restored the Apollo 13 command module. 2 individual lunar modules and 2 command modules were constructed for filming, while each was a replica composed of some of the original Apollo materials. They were built so that different sections were removable, which enabled filming to take place inside the capsules. Spaceworks also built modified command and lunar modules for filming inside a Boeing KC-135 reduced gravity aircraft and the pressure suits worn by the actors, which are exact reproductions of those worn by the Apollo astronauts, right down to the detail of being airtight. When suited up with their helmets locked in place, the actors were cooled by air pumped into the suits so that they could breathe, exactly as in launch preparations for a real Apollo mission.
I had no idea they did that in much detail.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I say when they went into so much detail to recreate the realism of what they do.
But again, with methodical filmmakers like Ron Howard, if you make it believable for the actors, they're fully immersed before they even say a line.
Yeah.
And yes, it will be difficult, but I love method directors like that, like Christopher Nolan as well, who, it's become cliche to like Christopher Nolan stuff, but he has kept some of Hollywood's old practices still going in his films, and the same with Ron Howard. Every time they bring out a film, it's all done as practically as they possibly can. And it's fantastic.
Just reaps the benefits.
Yeah, it just, by fully immersing your actors, you fully immerse your audience, and it works on so minute detail level as well. I had no idea they filmed in Near Zero G. Near Zero G either. I had no idea they did that.
But it was worth it. Like I said, the results were amazing. Producers had written the role of Jim Lovell with Kevin Costner in mind because of his facial similarities with the main character. Ultimately, Hanks was cast instead for that role because of his knowledge of Apollo and space histories. Apollo 13 was released on the 30th of June in 1995 in North America and in September 22nd in 1995 in the UK. It had a budget of $52 million and rating 355 worldwide.
Not too shabby.
No, not at all. And sitting at 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb. There you go. That's our movie picks for 1995. So if you haven't watched any of those, then that's what we suggest you go back and find on Netflix or wherever you get your movies from and sit down and have a watch. Well, that's pretty much it for the episode. We've got one more quick thing to blast through before we go. You don't get away with it that easily, guys. We still have the awards game to quickly play before we go. And I have no idea what the scores. I think I fucked it up last time. I think I asked for an extra question, which is how he got to win it eventually. So I'm sorry, Chris. When I was listening back to it and editing, I was like, I think I asked for an extra question. So that's how seriously we take this. But I've got it down as 3 each at the moment, so we'll just go with that, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and obviously we're looking at the Oscars of 1995, so I've got the 6 categories up in front of me. You both get to pick an answer from each one and see how you get on. So Chris, can you start from, give me a number between 1 and 6?
3.
Number 3, Best Actor. So the nominations were John Travolta for Pulp Fiction, Paul Newman for Nobody's Fool as Donald Sully Sullivan, Morgan Freeman for The Shawshank Redemption, Nigel Hawthorne for The Madness of King George, or Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump.
I think it's either going to be Morgan Freeman or Tom Hanks, isn't it?
You tell me.
Is it actor in a supporting role or a lead actor?
Just, lead actor, best actor.
It's Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump.
Okay. Rich?
Because that raked in the awards.
Yeah, I'm going to lean more towards Tom Hanks. I'm the same as that Morgan Freeman, but I will say Tom Hanks.
Okay. Okay. Well, the winner was... It was indeed Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump. Pretty easy to guess that one, I guess, wasn't it? It was... I haven't looked through these, and I'm kind of hoping that Forrest Gump wasn't one of these films that just raked it in. So, well, let's just see what happens, shall we? So, 1 each at the moment. Well done. Rich, why don't you pick a number for the next category?
I'm going to say 5.
Number 5 is Best Supporting Actress. And the nominations were Irma Thurman for Pulp Fiction, Jennifer Tilly for Bullets Over Broadway, Rosemary Harris for Tom and Viv, Helen Mirren for The Madness of King George, or Diane West for Bullets Over Broadway.
I'm going to say Helen Mirren.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, joint Helen Mirren. Sounds right.
Well, the winner was Diane West for Bullets Over Broadway.
Damn, okay.
So, still one apiece. Chris, please give me a number. What's left? We have number 6, number 4, number 1, number 2.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Best Actress. So we have Jodie Foster as Nell, Jessica Lange as Blue Sky from Blue Sky, Winona Ryder for Little Women, Susan Sarandon for The Client, or Miranda Richardson for Tom and Viv.
I want to say Susan Sarandon. Yeah,
Final answer?
Go with that, yeah.
Okay. Rich?
I'm going to go with Miranda Richardson.
Ooh, hot take. Well, it was indeed Jessica Lange.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Never mind, eh? Still one apiece. Doing well this week, guys. Doing well. Rich, please pick a number. We got number 2, number 4, Number 6.
I'll say 6.
Number 6 is Best Picture. The nominations for Pulp Fiction, The Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, or Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, it's Forrest Gump.
Has to be.
Well, you both got it right. It was indeed Forrest Gump.
That was an easy one. Come on.
It was easy. Yeah, it was easy. 2 apiece. Chris, we've got number 4. Number 2.
Number 2.
Best Supporting Actor. And the nominations were Chaz Palminteri for Bullets Over Broadway, Martin Landau for Ed Wood, Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction, Gary Sinise for Forrest Gump, or Paul Schofield for Quiz Show.
Gary Sinise.
Okay. Rich?
Can you say the second one again for me, please? The first 2.
Chaz Palminteri for Bullets Over Broadway, Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction, Martin Landau for Ed Wood, Paul Schofield for Quiz Show, or Gary Sinise.
I'm going to say Samuel L. Jackson.
Right, so we got Gary Sinise, Forrest Gump for Chris, Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction for Rich, and the person who did win Best Supporting Actor in 1995 was Martin Landau, or Landau, however you pronounce his surname, for Edward. Which leaves, so I think that's still 2-2, which leaves Best Director. And the nominations for Best Director was Quentin Tarantino for Pulp Fiction, Woody Allen for Bullets Over Broadway, Robert Redford for Quiz Show, Robert Zemeckis for Forrest Gump. Hang on. Oh my god. Yeah. And some person for 3 Colours Red, Krzysztof Kieslowski. That's how I'm going with it.
Look at this one. I need to look at some.
Are you going to see the answer though, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm just looking at a wiki. I'm just looking literally the first thing I see on the side. Yeah, it's like Christoph. Yeah,
Christoph
something Russian on there.
Kieslowski.
It's got some symbols above the letters.
Yes. That dude who directed 3 Colours Red, which I've never heard of before. So, Chris, who do you think won Best Director?
Robert Zemeckis.
For Forrest Gump?
Yep.
Okay. Rich?
I'm going to say Zemeckis. I don't think it's anyone else.
Well, you're both right. It was indeed Robert Zemeckis, which makes it 3-3, so we've got a draw. So I'm going to pick a random category, and that's going to be Best Animated Short Film. Excuse me. So the nominations for this was The Big Story, The Janitor, The Monk and the Fish, Triangle, or Bob's Birthday. Who do you think won the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film in 1995 out of those?
I don't
Chris.
know any of those. Can you repeat those, please, Jason?
Yeah. The Janitor, The Big Story, The Monk and the Fish, Triangle, or Bob's Birthday.
Let's go for The Janitor. Sounds boring enough to win an Oscar.
Okay. Rich?
I'm going to say Bob's Birthday just simply because I thought you were going to say Bob's Burgers. So that's my logic.
Okay. So we've got Chris with The Janitor and Rich with Bob's Birthday Burger. The animated short film that won the Oscar in 1995 was Bob's Birthday. Well done. Well done, Rich.
My logic works.
Bob's birthday burger. You smashed it. So that makes it Rich 4, Chris 3 in the never-ending award game. So, well done, Rich. Congrats.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, let's get out of here, shall we? It's been a long one, so I'm sure the listeners are itching to go and do whatever they need to go and do. So, listeners, thank you so much for listening. As always, we appreciate you spending your time with us. You can also hear me and Rich talk video games with Andrew and Steve on the Dreamcast Years podcast. And you can also find me hosting the Playlist podcast for the Cross Players. You can find them on Twitter at Dreamcast Years and the Cross Players. Don't forget, if you liked what you heard, then please consider checking out our Patreon if you fancy throwing us a quid. It would really mean the world to us. You'll find a Linktree link in the show notes, which has all our links, including our website, Twitter handles and more. And if you have a few spare minutes, it would be great if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really will help the show be more discoverable, and I will read out the reviews on the show too. That is the end of Podcast Waffle done. Final words, guys?
It's morphin' time.
Nice. Chris, any final words?
So, Goldeneye exists. Of all the things I could have said for that film.
You should say that I'm invincible.
Do you know what? That didn't even occur to me. Alan Cumming. Oh, that guy. I'm invincible.
I was going to say, did you want to do it again?
or you could go with for England, James. No, for me. And then one of the coldest Bond kills where he just drops his best mate.
Wow. Perfect way to end the podcast.
It's also Slughead as well. That's cool.
Yeah, spiked them.
Yet again, thanks for listening. Really do appreciate it. All that's left for me to say is that you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a 90s podcast to the max. We'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.